All right. Good morning, everyone. Just maybe a hands up online, just confirming someone online can hear us.
I got you loud and clear, Ken.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Nate. I see a thumbs up. Perfect. It's always good when the technology works. All right. Well, with that, let us call the meeting to order. Let's stand up, face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Right, just a logistical reminder, because I know it's been a change and it's always a little bit cumbersome, but I will tell you from the feedback that we're getting, the microphones are really working, both for the folks online and for us in the room. You know, Hugh was running us into bankruptcy buying microphones, so we could we couldn't buy one for everybody in the room. So it's obviously we're finding that it's working best to have the microphones in the center and have folks step up. I know it's sometimes a challenge when we're in dialogue. Just do the best we can. Certainly happy to have folks pass the microphones as well. I just know they're a little clunky to take off. And sometimes it's awkward to face up here when you're trying to talk to the broader group. At the end of the day, don't want to restrict your ability to communicate with everyone in the room. So if you feel more comfortable picking up the microphone and stepping back and face it, however you want to make that work. But at the end of the day, the microphones that are on the two stands there are what project our voices here in the room. There are microphones in the ceiling that are taking care of the Zoom, and so that part's working really well. So anyway, just I'll remind everybody of that, and we'll just be patient as we work through that. Item number 4, our consent calendar item. We just today have the meeting agenda for today's meeting and the board meeting minutes from our June 18th meeting. So with that in mind, any comments, questions on anything on the consent calendar? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent calendar as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Awesome, thank you. Consent calendar approved as presented. We had a very full meeting last month, and this meeting we have no new business or old business. So I think obviously we've got some opportunity when we get into community council reports, etc., to be able to have some good dialogue there. We won't feel rushed. So with that, we'll move right into executive board reports. And I don't want to steal anybody else's thunder. I just want to be able to comment as the chair. There's just so many things going on in different groups that you're going to hear about today, whether it's project coordination, our defensible space home hardening assessments group. I was able to sneak on the call there last night that the group had for a little over half an hour, and just amazing the amount of participation and the information being exchanged and shared. So it's just super excited by how much is happening. And I know we all tend to work on what isn't working, trying to fix things and move forward. And I know we had this discussion this week at the executive board. Once in a while, we just got to stop and look back and see where we've come this year and in the last couple of years. And you all have accomplished a ton of work. And so thank you all for continuing to do that. It's definitely being recognized. So with that, I will turn it over to Dorothy Fine for our vice chair report.
Okay, and this is on. Good morning, everyone. And in regards to the website, I'm going to talk about. Thank you for the questions that you have regarding the website, and hopefully we're getting answers. You're getting answers back that work for you. For the fire safe councils, please remember that there's no deadline in getting your website up and going. Okay, and actually they're web pages, but I'm going to be calling them a website. There's also no amount of limited support from Streamline helping you out to get your website going for your ASC, and there's no limit on the amount of information that you post on that. So just understand that if for some reason as you put in a ticket to have Streamline give you some help and you get a different answer, please let me know and we'll make sure that that gets corrected so that you are getting the support that you need regarding that. Starting your webpage, in case you haven't done it, haven't got it started, not like Oak Hill that has a really good website if you want to see, and they're still in the fact that. But compared to some like Caminos, for instance, theirs looks awesome. So to get some ideas, but you can start at any time to get yours ready, but think ahead of time what information you want, how you want it organized before you contact Streamline would be a tip I would give out. So that they have some idea of how the best to be able to help you and maximize time and efficiency in that case. Once you're up and running, we can always make changes and add other information into there. And for those of you that Fireside Councils that have events and have been sending them to Carrie to go ahead and post on the master website, please just continue that process. That's the way to go. And as a reminder, we did change the layout of this website compared to the old website. So forms are at the bottom of the website under resource materials. So just as a reminder, there's other information at the bottom for both our residents and for the Fireside Councils, but most of that falls under the resource materials. So are there any questions? Yes, Elizabeth.
Want to be the governor?
Yes, in terms of the websites, so I originally worked with Lindsay,
Yes.
here was looking going, and then I sent her an email, a couple emails I thought with getting some PDFs of our newsletter to put on our page, radio silence. So do I keep bugging her? What's the proper procedure?
At the bottom, there is a where you can put in a ticket, contact us for help. But on the website, it's on the right hand front page, all the way down at the bottom. Go through that, right? You bet. Good question. Any other questions regarding the website? No, Alice. You really need, if they don't think that their webpage is good, you need to go look at it. It's very well organized, great information. You set a standard that's hard, Alice.
I'm just saying that, what worked, instead of trying to do a whole lot of stuff before you talk to them, what worked for us was to talk to them a little bit first
Oh,
and kind of get a feel for what's going on. That's the only stage we're at now, and that got that little bit, it's there now. But now we're doing all the back things. So it is good to talk to them first, just get kind of an idea.
okay. Well, thank you for that input. Not unless you started when there wasn't anything on there. Now that I would suggest go to Oak Hills, look at theirs, contact Streamline, and then think about the information that you want on there. So any other questions regarding the website? End of report.
All right, thank you, Dorothy. Right, next up, Secretary Report, Angel, and Angel has an action item.
Yes, in today's Board of Director package, there was an Article 22 for the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council Defensible Space Stipend Reimbursement Process. The document outlines the process that the defensible space assessors, the clerk, and our treasurer will follow. Input for this process was gathered from our treasurer, clerk, grants manager, training, and defensible space group. You should have read this 2-page document by now, so now I'm going to ask you if you have any questions.
Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Seeing no questions.
We have.
Can you hear me?
No.
I think we need to turn it on. Thank you, Cord.
The speakers are for tall people.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. On the ones that should be out will be transferred. Sure, once all that process happens, and then they'll go into our bank account. When it's sitting there, and we want to draw
from it, do we need to request permission to withdraw from it? Do you know
Once-
how that's different than Article?
I'm not sure what you're referring to in Article 3, but once the money is in your El Dorado Hills South Fire Safe Council account, you may spend it. You need to document how you're spending it, what you're spending it on, have receipts and all that happy stuff. But does that answer your question?
We don't have to request withdrawing it.
Yeah, so,
Correct.
Right.
this is Janet, the funds will be, transferred quarterly. So you don't need to make a request. I will get a report from Carrie. Carrie will tell me how many, assessments were completed that have fulfilled the requirements of the policy. And quarterly, I will transfer those, stipend amounts for those assessments into your bank accounts. For those of you who don't have a bank account, until you get your bank account, we'll manage it another way. But the goal is to do it as an automatic transfer. After the transfer, I will send an email to everyone, all of the chairs saying this is the amounts that were transferred.
And the use of the funds will follow what is required. Spending.
There's no requirement or restriction on how you use those funds. They are considered like a donation to your Fire Safe Council. You may use them as your board authorizes.
Within the mission.
Within the mission of the Fire Safe Council. Well, as your board authorizes, yeah.
Lester, back to Remote Hill. So the question I have is, because we put a lot of new folks through the assessment program, will they be trained to then in how to submit that information? And is there a way so that either the treasurer within individual fire safe councils can sort of track what's going on as we expand the number of assessors, and we can how to make sure information is getting shared?
I believe each assessor was trained on this process, and Elizabeth can confirm that. And the second part of your question, I'm going to interpret as each person that was trained was kind of, I don't want to say assigned, but they belong to a fire safe council. So that assessor's assessment stipend will go to that fire safe council. But I'm not sure there wasn't more to the second half of your question.
Just that we've had within our fire safe council some new assessors, and in the past, because it was a small number, we knew how many proposals, how many assessments were being done, and that the documents were being submitted. Wouldn't have any way of tracking that at this point for the additional folks.
Okay, Elizabeth?
Yeah, so this is a growing learning process. The new assessors trained this year did get some instruction on that. I have shared that document with them. And if maybe now that it's officially approved, maybe I will send that out again as the official document. In the trainings, we did recommend that the new assessors connect with their fire, whoever the people are in their fire safe council. And we recommend within each fire safe council, you come up with a system, internally track the number of assessments that are getting done. And in theory, getting reported so that on the other end, we can make sure the numbers are lining up with what Carrie is recording. And we may be, doing some QC to make sure the system's all flowing properly. But it's good to, if you're expecting money coming back in, that you talk to your treasurer, you have somebody internally that's coordinating your assessments, making sure the numbers are lining up so that if they aren't, we can figure out where the system's breaking down.
Cameron.
So what we did is we actually designated one person in our fire safe council to take care of this, and so all the forms go to her. And then she submits them and tracks them, and she just happens to be our treasurer, but it wouldn't have to be your treasurer. I think we just started doing that, and I think it's working pretty well so far.
Want to go ahead and?
Yeah. Right, any other comments or questions? All right, so all those in favor of approving the flexible space stipend reimbursement process policy signify by saying aye.
I,
Any opposition? All right, policy approved as presented. Thank you to Janet, Angel, Elizabeth, the whole team of folks that put together, Carrie. There was a lot of hands touched this process. So, I support Elizabeth's comment. It's a working process. So as we identify challenges, we will correct them as we go. But like any new program, we'll just work through it. So thank you, Angel. Go.
now that the policy is in place, I'll work on getting the first set of transfers through 6/30. So from March, when we gave approval for for how they were going to be handled, until now, until June 30th, I'll make the first set of transfers before the end of this month.
Thank you.
Recently I was contacted by OWOPR to review some Associate Fire Safe Council maps to align them in a way that we're not dividing parcels in half as part of a Fire Safe Council, and the other half of the parcel is outside of the Fire Safe Council. So I will be contacting 6 Fire Safe Councils, and I hope that you will be happy to make these small changes that are being requested. That's number 1. And number 2 is by Friday, if not, oh, I'm sorry. You had a question?
No. For some people, who's talked to David, they didn't understand where this information and attachment was, Article 22. I was just telling him that it was embedded and buried into a very lengthy printout of 26 pages. I saw in there would seem to be replication, though it didn't come across to us as being it's complete because there's more information than we actually needed. But I just wanted everybody to know if they were looking for that information, that's where it is. It is in there because I did print it out, but I just wanted everybody to recognize that we have it in front of us.
Correct. And for clarification, most of you receive an agenda, and then the board of directors receive the board packet. And inside the packet, it could be 1 page, it could be 26 pages. And this just happened to be pages 22 and 23. So you do need to check your emails. Thank you. And scroll to the last page in the document.
And then the board, Carrie also posts the full board packet
Oh, yes.
to the website with that. So that's always posted at the same time the email goes out.
Thank you.
So any questions on the boundary changes? And then the other item on the 4th of July, I believe I sent out the contact list for the Associate Fire Safe Councils. I received 4 corrections, and I will resend that out by Friday. Again, check your emails and you'll have that contact list. It does specifically say that a lot of us are using our own personal emails or phone numbers for Fire Safe Council business. So the list is specifically for your use to network with other Fire Safe Councils, or if you want to attend a meeting or whatever with them, that's the purpose. It's not to be given out to the people on the corner or whatever. Let's see. Any questions? No corner people. That's all I have today. Thank you.
Thank you, Angel. All right, next up, treasurer's report, and one slight error in the agenda. I am not presenting for Janet. There is absolutely no way I would do that if I didn't have to. So Janet has the con for the treasurer.
I think we need to stick with the agenda as written, and I think Ken should. So this month, as since the first of the year, because of the timing of these meetings compared to how the calendar ran, we've been running a month behind on our treasurer's reports. So, for example, in June, you got the May 1st treasurer's report, basically. Because it's the end of the year and I wanted us to start off on a good kind of solid footing next month. So we'll start with the new budget. I have combined, spent a little extra time in a hurry and combined May and June. So we actually, you have in front of you the final budget for the 24-25 year with full expenditures. There is nothing out of the ordinary. You will notice that there is a significant amount of fiscal sponsor fees. If you look on the year-to-date expense report, the first page of the budget, in May and June, we have received $105,000 in fiscal sponsor fees. So our grant programs are working very hard, and we're spending a lot of money in those grant programs, and we're getting our management piece of that into our bank account. For the grant programs themselves, you will see that the CAL FIRE chipping grant has been fully expended, and it will drop off next month. The other grant programs are continuing to plug along. No, we still have not received the California Fire Safe Council grant advance money. So with that, that is the end of the budget.
Any comments
Portion
or
of the
questions
presentation.
on the treasurer's report as presented by Janet?
And Mark?
Sorry, this should be a simple question, hopefully a simple answer. So on the California Fire Safe Council grant, for those of us who submitted the reimbursement requests since the inception of the grant, theoretically, if the money appears in the next 6 months or so, how does that work for the treasurer that the expenses were incurred in the last fiscal year and potentially reimbursed in the next fiscal year? Is that?
But funny you should ask. Today we have a brown bag presentation on the profit and loss, of which that item will be specifically covered. But for to just kind of give you a preview, if you have cross fiscal year, either reimbursements, you got a reimbursement in July of 24 for expenses that occurred before in the last fiscal year, or you're not going to be reimbursed for expenses that you have in 24-25 until now, you're going to footnote your profit and loss that you have so much expenditure that was not reimbursed. You're going to leave them in, but you're going to footnote how much that is. Please stand by for the brown bag.
Yes.
Joshua Camino. This is a pretty obvious question, probably doesn't need to be asked, and I will be answered in the round bag question. But I notice that you have income page, 177,000 income, you have 206,000 on outgo. Seems like an imbalance. Of course, the budget was actually budgeted to be a balance. All that might be not clear to some of us. Probably don't remember what it was explained last time.
So this has been an awkward, and so this has been a little bit of an awkward page. The top part actually, where it says Fire Safe Council operations balance, that is actually the cash on hand as of this date. So it's not necessarily the balance, and you're going to subtract the whole year's expenditures from that. The whole year, most of the year's expenditures have already been subtracted from that. The bottom half with the expenses is trying to show what we budgeted as a Fire Safe Council and how much we spend against those budget allotments. But the top piece is actually pulling, so the beginning balance when we started the budget was $119,000. The current balance as of April 30th or plus April 30th plus the May and June receipts is $177,000. So it's just showing that how much cash we really have in the bank.
If I may.
You may.
So what it seems to be you're saying is that we started out with $119,000 in cash. We've spent $206,000. And we still have, after covering that, $177,000 left.
Yes, yes.
I have some doubts, but I mean, we probably ought to have an income budget that we can see what happened in this one, but that's a very interesting.
Yeah, and I'm certainly open to better ways of presenting this. What we'll talk about in a couple of minutes is we're converting our methodology of accounting. And so this report may completely change going forward. But this is actually showing, just trying to show that we still have cash in the bank.
Well, off the top of my head, but I'll be in the brown bag, so I'll hear more.
Oh,
I would say we probably ought to have an income budget and a expense budget.
okay.
Any other questions? Right, no other questions? All those in favor of approving the treasurer's report as presented signify by saying aye. Any opposition? Treasurer's report accepted, and good questions, always good questions on the budget. So, Janet, next.
So for the board of directors in your packet is, I believe, the audit report. I saw it in here.
Yeah.
The audit report that was completed by Von Johnson CPA out of Cameron Park. There were no findings or recommendations in the written audit report. As I've mentioned on the side, she has talked about our basis of accounting. We have been a cash basis organization, and when we were very small, that worked really nicely for us. Cash basis just means you don't recognize expenses until they happen or revenues until they happen. So they may not be aligned by the fiscal year. They just are recognized when they happen. She is recommending that we move to an accrual basis, which basically recognizes expenses or revenues when you know that they're going to happen. So I know I'm going to receive that $20 check in 2 weeks. I can recognize it as revenue today on the books. Cut in a nutshell, that's kind of what that means. We are going to make that change in our QuickBooks account. It may result in changes in the reports that you see. I'm going to try and leave the grant page as it is, but I do want to rethink the balance sheet page, the current year expenditure page for the Fire Safe Council, and see if there might be a better way that we can report that out to folks. But the audit is complete, and it is up on our website. For those of you who don't have the board of director packet, Carrie has posted it onto our website, so you are welcome to take a look at it there.
All right, any questions for Janet on the audit?
Yeah.
If you're having challenges sleeping at
Thank you to Grizzly, who had to provide all of their expenses for their last fiscal year for review during that audit, and there were no questions. So that was super awesome. Thank you for your records.
Chris.
Just for the record, I think you should take the table of contents and just say what was in there, what the audit included. That would go then on the record as what we're seeing in front of us, because you expect action, right? Momentarily, we're gonna.
It's not an action.
Not an
item.
actionable item.
It's in file.
It is what it is.
It's just an acceptance then.
It is what it is. They have provided it to us. It's on our website. There's nothing that we need to do.
No, you can't say it the way you just said it. What you can say is be accepting. That's what we ought to be doing right now. No debate. We don't discuss it, but I believe there's correct words for what we have in front of us. Do you understand what I'm saying?
We have received our audit, and I have posted it on the website. I mean, we're not going to make changes to it. I'm not sure what you're trying to recommend.
Well, no, because we're the board and she's reporting to us essentially also. So, I mean, besides the membership. And in that regard, I just want to know what I have in front of us, and that I want the words to be subject to then, yeah, I agree. At this point, just posting it on the website, in my mind, is not the action.
Did you read the audit?
I just looked through it.
Okay, do you have any concerns with it?
I have no concerns. That's why I am telling you, I think we ought to let people know what is inclusive in this audit, which is the table of contents. That's what I'm saying. There are parts to this audit that I think are reflective of us and our acceptance of it. I guess you don't, so obviously.
I guess my concern is the independent auditor has provided us her independent audit of our financial statements. We are not going to change those. If we had concerns with what she had written, we would have provided a rebuttal and it would have been included in the audit report itself. David, maybe you can explain to me what you're.
No, our boards can simply be to accept and file the.
Yeah, happy to do that.
And that's the word, that's all I'm putting.
Okay.
Do we already make the motion?
No, it doesn't take a motion.
Right, any other questions on the audit as presented? Yes.
Just the audit, but the other stuff is on the packet or those of us who aren't on the board do together. But it's up on the one website and I put it up to everyone. It seems like it would be very simple just to send, since it's electronic, and you're sending agenda out to everybody. You just hand on the packet. Have it be a secret, but remember to go out and get it. And it won't be mystified what you is, or what the auditor reports is, they realize, oh, we didn't look. We didn't get to do it. That's something that goes to the board gets to do. Seems like it should be very simple, just send it out to everybody.
So is there any opposition to doing that? I'm happy to do that. The challenge is, some people don't like a lot of extra email and taking up the space in their inbox. So I try to be responsive to feedback. Yes, but it's a much bigger file. So I try to be responsive, but if there's absolutely zero secrets, so I'm happy to send everything out. So going forward, everyone will get everything.
To this big email list we're gonna make.
Yes, and the email list is growing. So, all right, any additional questions relative to the audit? So, but the audit has been received and filed and posted to the website. It's available for review at any point. So all those in favor of accepting the audit as provided by the auditor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Right. Thank you. So I recognize that financial things aren't quite as exciting as the Fire Service 101 presentation we had last month. But probably more damaging if we don't pay attention to what's going on in there. So I definitely, especially because of the good questions that we're already receiving today and it's just right now. So would definitely encourage everyone that can stay for that, do that. And also we are going to put it out on Zoom. So when the meeting's done, we'll take a break and then we'll start that presentation. It'll be the same Zoom link that we're for this meeting. I'll remind everybody at the end of the meeting. So great. All right, with that, we are up to partners reports, and I don't see anyone from BLM. Make sure I'm not missing anyone. And I think we've worn Jeff Hogue out. I don't see. He has literally been at everything we've been doing everywhere, so he deserves the break. So we will certainly give CAL FIRE the pass. Next up, I see Tanya Harlow from Office of Wildfire Preparedness and Resilience. Tanya.
You haven't worn me out.
We tried.
That's good.
Hi, Tanya Harlow from OWAPR. Couple quick updates, just starting with public outreach. It's going really good. Pursuant to a question I think we received either last meeting or the meeting before, the public outreach working group is trying to figure out a way to give material and information to Fire Safe Council so that you can put it on your website if you don't have Facebook. So I think we have come up with a way to do that. That should be pretty easy. We have a wildfire awareness season campaign schedule that we're following. And we're just gonna take that information and just feed it to Fire Safe Council so that you can just put it right on your website. So it'll just be different topics. You know, we'll probably give it to you monthly, just different topics that you can put on your website. So we'll try to figure out a way to make public outreach easier for you guys too. I just last weekend on Saturday was out in Volcanoville for their Firewise event. Myself and a list of amazing speakers, including Tamara and Courtney from RCD. It was just a really well attended event, really nice to see the community out there and how engaged they are with all of these efforts. We have National Night Out coming up, so there's going to be different communities participating in that. We'll be tying in and helping where we can. As far as Firewise, we are up to 48 current Firewise communities on the West Slope right now. We have 7 that have submitted their applications, so they're pending. Just getting all their information in, so we will be up over 50 here pretty soon. Defensible space, we just completed our quarterly report for the Board of Supervisors. So since April 1st to the end of June, our 2 inspectors have completed 209 proactive inspections, which are out in the county emphasis areas, 60 complaints, and 102 real estate inspections for a total of 371 inspections just in 1 quarter. So they're working really hard, and the good news is that because of the BLM grant that we have 3 new defensible space inspectors coming on within the next few weeks. So we're going to get to really ramp up these numbers and make sure we're touching the parcels in the county. And lastly, no, maybe not lastly, Weber Creek, we had a Jenny Milo from our office, who is the project manager for the Weber Creek project, just had a stakeholder meeting on June 26th. So the partners and the stakeholders that are part of the project area all convened and just learned about what the project is and how they can do their part in the project, so that it goes beyond the scope of just what the Weber Creek project is, but all the stakeholders, you know, have a part in it too. So that was really good. And that is moving along the Weber Creek project. We are a couple weeks away from having a construction manager on contract, and the work will be getting done. So, and then lastly, CWPP, we're still on schedule to get the CWPP adopted mid-August by the Board of Supervisors. So that is definitely underway, and we are every time I'm here, we're getting closer. And what the cool thing is that we've already stood up the project coordination working group, and we have been able to reference the CWPP as it is now, to start looking at projects that need to be done. And so that has been in play, and it's going really, really well. So I don't know if Tamara talked about it, but
Nope.
Okay, so any questions? Yes.
By any chance, do you have any info on of the assessments that are done, kind of what the findings broadly have been, of how many are, you know,
The inspections. Yeah, well, I don't have a broad thing. So our inspectors actually, it was Jenna from our office. Jenna is the admin over the Defensible Space Inspection Program. So she's really I don't want to say the brains, because that means the inspectors aren't the brains, but that's not what I mean. You know what I mean. She is running the program on the admin side. And so she is really keeping track of what the findings are. So Jenna and Brian, who is our inspector who's out in the field mostly, they went out to Hanks Exchange and just Crystal Boulevard, and did an after action. And basically just showed them, here's, you know, what the findings were generally, and it is the normal things. It's all weed, It's, the under ladder fuel, thank you. Gosh, I've never talked about fire before. And so it's generally those things. A lot of unables, gates, box gates, people who don't want you on their property. So that is, you know, always going to be something that we struggle with doing inspection. Yes.
I was just wondering statistically, do you recall that first 5 feet from the house out 5 feet?
Do I recall it?
Do you
Yeah,
recall?
I'm aware of it, yes.
Yeah. Statistical analysis of what you've seen come into your office. Is there information about how people are handling that first 5 feet? Because I understand that that first 5 feet, because of all the presentations we've had, my own experience, is extremely important in the safety of us, the residents. So do you have anything to say?
Yeah, so the zone 0 isn't enforceable now, as you know. It's definitely in education. It's a huge part of the education. When all of our inspectors go out, they're 100% talking about the 0 to 5 feet. Whether or not it's enforceable, they are out there telling them why. This is why we need to remove these combustibles. This is how it's supposed to look. So yes, we are in heavy education mode, so that when 0 to 5 does become enforceable, it's not going to be a big shock. But even then, it probably will be difficult.
So if I understand you, Tanya, you're saying you're in an education mode right now.
As far as 0 to 5.
Yeah, okay. And that over time, though, as you get your inspectors on board, the new inspectors on board, there's going to be a tightening. It'll go from education to more, what we call it? What's the next phase after education? It would be
Well, we work unilaterally with enforcement. Also.
enforcement.
Compliant. Well, reaching compliance is the goal.
Okay.
It's not enforcing to be punitive. It's reaching compliance. We want,
thank you.
that's what we want. Janice.
I just want to point out that it doesn't have anything to do with the hiring of the inspectors. 0 to 5 is not enforceable right now because it is not law. It is not required by statute or by our ordinance. Once it is required by statute and by our ordinance, at that point, the defensible space inspectors would be able to enforce it.
Thank you for clarifying that. That's what I meant to say.
Well, that's it. Just walked away.
Peace out.
Wow, okay.
Mic drop.
Well, thank you. Okay, well, I'm gonna do a go back if I'm not throwing him too much on the spot, but Chief Hogue is in the house and welcome. We're worried we wore you out, so we.
Good morning. Jeff from Town Chief Governor Eldorado Unit, those of you that don't know me. Don't have a ton to report. As you all know, we are fully in fire season. And, we've had a couple of incidents throughout the state that have kept our crews busy, but in general, we're basically just kind of catching initial attack fires. Some things are moving around about the state, but many of the large fires have been kept mostly to the forest or the federal responsibility area. So but we do maintain obviously a ready posture here in the unit with very little drama. So good news there, ready for the coming months. Let's see here. And with that, we did have something new that came to us this year with one of our CAL FIRE enacted budgets. We now have 12-month year-round staffing for our firefighter 1 hand crews. And what that does, and the purpose of that is those crews are now, in addition to being able to be used on vegetation fires, that really the goal is to start pushing those guys into doing their fuel reduction projects that are going to be available year-round. Previous to now, they've been 9 months out of the year, so we will have full crew staffing year round to work on fuel reduction projects. So excited to see that going place.
Collective, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Just from resource management, Patrick McDaniels, our forester, he just wanted to remind everybody as we work into these wildfire prevention grants that are open right now. Just to be in touch with himself, if you have any concept papers, you guys need any guidance on some of your grant proposals, please send them to Patrick. I'll also be working with him as well, leveraging our Vibrant Planet platform that we've adopted in the unit to help evaluate some of these projects. And with that, I have nothing else to add. If we have any questions, I know there's some Zone Zero stuff that was kind of kicking around. I might be able to help weigh in on that as well. Go to Leslie.
Actually, it's not a Zone Zero question. Recently, I think just very recently, it was posted the CAL FIRE project, priority project areas on maps. And what those are for and how we as fire safety councils can utilize that information.
Great question. Thank you, Lester, for asking that. So what it is, we went through this process by leveraging some new technology at a company named Vibrant Planet. They're out of South Lake Tahoe. And what they do is they offer a product that allows us to evaluate the environment as well as the risk for some of the homes and the subdivisions that are in the area. And it helps us using data and scientific methods to determine where we're going to be most efficient on doing fuel reduction projects. So we as a unit gave it our priorities. We want to protect communities. We want to protect critical access routes. It goes into the system. It uses its hazard layers. So things like it has a synthetic LiDAR that it uses. Basically what it's doing is taking a look at the environment and saying, okay, this is where you're most likely to burn. It uses weather, all that other kind of data. Very technical type of stuff. But it kicks out an answer saying, hey, if you were to go ahead and treat these areas around your infrastructure, around your homes, you're going to get the greatest return on investment. So it just helps us be a little bit more focused on where we want to do projects. Now, in El Dorado County, I think we identified something like 100,000 acres, which we all know is really kind of a high bar. In order to treat that type of acreage, you need upwards of hundreds of millions of dollars to do that. But this is a decision support tool. So to answer your question, Lester, on how we can utilize that, as you guys are looking at your grant proposals, we have populated that layer onto the OWOPR's data sharing tool. And you can take that and you look at where you're thinking about putting in your grant proposals and then how that aligns with we as the Outdoor El Dorado unit, where we want to have look at projects. Again, like I said earlier, that is protecting communities, that's protecting critical access routes. So those are those project areas, those pink areas that you'll see on the map. Those are the areas that we want to focus in. And then again, like I said, we can get those concept papers over to Patrick and myself, and we can start talking about like treatment prescription and overall project design for that. So it really is there to help inform fire safe councils, it's help to inform CAL FIRE and any of our partners on where we think we should be concentrating our efforts for fuel reduction projects.
So I'm curious, with all the more people now able to do some fuel reduction, is any of that going towards maintenance of projects that are already out there, or is it all new fuel reduction? That's one question. And the second question is is anybody starting to look at monitoring fuel reduction afterwards for, the non-native weeds, the flashy fuels that might actually make things worse in 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, so in answer to your first question, one of the priorities for this wildfire prevention grant is back maintenance. So we're taking a look at that to look at current projects that have happened or on through the last 5 years and are, like you said, beginning to grow back. Now that evaluation process, when we get updated hazard maps, or not hazard, but when we get updated fuel type maps, if there's like LiDAR that comes along with Vibrant Planet, that's when we get that reassessment of that hazard layer of those fuels in there to evaluate, has that grown back? Do we have an issue with that? Then there's also ground truthing that goes along with that as well. So we know that these projects took place in this area. So it's incumbent upon either our folks, fire safety council folks, to go out and identify those things and say, oh, that's right, there was a project here, but look, it's growing back. And now that's why we want to leverage this wildfire prevention grant, put that in part of your, as part of your proposal, and then turn that into us. So that's just another feather in the cap as you're going through and doing your proposal for your grants. So the answer is yes, in a way, but not at a large scale.
So, that all made good sense, and I understand with the grants, but the people that you say that are now putting 25% of their time on fuel reduction, are they doing any of that on maintenance, or is that all?
Where appropriate, I guess would be the best way to say that. My role, and this is kind of a new concept, not just in the unit, but also kind of statewide, is to help guide where we're going to be utilizing our crews throughout. Traditionally, it's gone through the local battalion chief. You know, they have relationships and they'll go out and they'll identify a project. With us standing up this community risk reduction program within the unit, I now have a BMP battalion chief, so we can go out and assess that type of stuff. And then that's going to be where we want to drive those resources. That's where we want to drive those crews. So yes, it's as best as possible, knowing that it's a huge problem. Also, you know, there's, you know, if CEQA is expired for whatever reason too, those are other things that we need to consider. Rights of entry expire over time as well, so we may have to go through that whole process over again. But again, it's kind of this group, you know, the word collaborative effort for us to all kind of get together and identify those things and what's a priority and where we're going to be using. You know, some of that comes internally from CAL FIRE, and we get it in from leadership or from our assessment. But it also comes from, you know, the folks that live in the area as well to help us guide us where they think that's going to be important. And really where that momentum is where we can spend a lot of our effort. So I don't know if that's the greatest answer. I wish we could treat everything, but we all know that that's not the most realistic thing. We are making these steps in that direction, putting our money with our crews. We're allowing ourselves more capacity in that space. So I think over the next 5-10 years, I'm going to work on it even immediately. We'll start seeing a lot more work being done in these areas.
A little bit more slant on, I believe this question has to come up with the notion of the time that we had available to submit our application under the new cycle. And then the question that we had a meeting internally a week or two ago, and it was decided, and I supported it, that we would focus our attention, and I think later on we'll be talking about this when we do the grants, but I just wanted you aware that rather than an individual associate fire safety council like Patterson Ranch, who had a project 5 or 6 years ago and now needs maintenance, rather than my making an effort to try to get a grant, I decided to be inclusive in our effort as the El Dorado County Fire Safety Council to submit collectively and support what we're submitting rather than asking for an individual. Therefore, I'm really interested in the resource availability then that might come from you, and as the program expands, you being available to come to Patterson Ranch Fire Safety Council for a couple of days with the crew and take care of some of the things that I see as kind of immediate. Does that make any sense, Jeff?
Yeah, so I think what you're asking is, do we have availability for crews to come out and work on this project? And again, that's something that we have to go evaluate and prioritize.
Not just putting in a request, thank you.
Yeah. Answer your first question too, I do understand that it's a little bit pressed timeline for the grants this year. And I think that don't know exactly why that is. They have to do something with Prop 4 monies. There can be reports on this as well.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Any other questions for Jeff? Awesome. Thank you. Thank you as always, Jeff. Okay, jumping back, I don't believe we have any representative from the Fire Chiefs Association. And also, I don't believe we have an official rep from the fire prevention officers either. I know Krishana's on, if you had anything you'd like to add. If not, happy to keep moving.
Good morning. Are you able to hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, Krishana. Didn't
Okay,
want to put you on the spot.
No, I appreciate it. Actually, I'm going to make sure this is agendized on the FPO meeting on Thursday so that we have a consistent representative for the
Awesome.
Fire Safe Council meetings. But just right now, the FPOs are focusing on fire code adoption. There's a new WUI code that we're going to be looking over, but the specific changes to the fire code adoption are the focus right now for the FPO group. We do meet the third Thursday of every month. So if anyone is interested in what things we're considering, you can join in those meetings either by Zoom or here at our El Dorado Hills admin station. That's probably all I have to report. But again, I'll make sure that this is agendized so that we have a report to come back every month to your guys' meeting.
Awesome. Thank you, Krishana. Okay, U.S. Forest Service, I see Jacoby. Welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, Jacoby Waters, Deputy Chief on the El Dorado National Forest. So mine is pretty simple. It's just gonna be rinse and repeat from Cal Fire. No, so real quick, we're fully staffed as fire season. We have been getting some small fires across the forest, but we've been able to catch them relatively small. So we've seen nothing really big on Forest Service land, at least on course on our side right now. There are multiple fires across the nation that we are sending folks to, all the way to Canada, Alaska. We're sending folks all over to natural disasters as well. That'll be something that'll continue to happen with the Forest Service. And there's always ever changing things going on with the feds right now. So we are just trying to work through it. And so some things we just don't know. But as we know, and I come to this, I will try to relay any information I have, especially when it comes to the fire service. That said, we are working, you probably have seen a lot of our fuel reduction projects across the areas. We are trying to focus more within the lands adjacent to private lands. So that's the goal going forward. We've been working with SPI, CAL FIRE, Fire Safe Councils, the CCCs, and tribal communities, and other folks that are trying to get in there with us to help to eliminate this hazardous fuels, especially in the woolly areas. The ingress, egress areas is huge to us, so we're starting to move towards more of a larger fuel break. So you'll see a lot of timber coming out, trying to get rid of a lot of the dead standing in the Caldor area. So these are some of the things that we are working on across the forest, and we'll keep continuing doing that as long as we can. That's really all I have, unless folks have questions. We'll just continue to do what we do.
I heard a report just recently that some of the Tuolumne County sawmills received Caledonia fire timber, and that kind of blew my mind. Do you know anything about that? Do they have it made sense to truck that all the way down?
Actually can't speak to that very much because I've been looking for any place we can send timber to and actually, get rid of our timber any way possible. And that's something that hasn't come up, but I'll check on it because that's interesting.
Yeah, apparently they've got capacity, and apparently they got caliber.
Yeah, well, there's funding coming down for Caldor for us to get rid of the dead standing, and that's what we're trying to do on a larger scale.
Okay, any other questions for Jacoby? Lester.
Along those same lines, do you know anything about the Huckleberry timber sale, which I think affects some of the private lands up along Highway 2?
I don't, but I can check on that. So the timber side and the fire fuels reduction side, we are a little bit different as far as getting rid of the fuels out there. We're trying to work more together, but we've lost a lot of folks. So going forward, we are trying to figure out where we can stand with that. So to answer your question and go back to that, I actually don't know much about it.
Thank you, Jacoby. Appreciate you being here. Resource Conservation District is Courtney here?
Yeah, she's in the back.
I can't see everybody from right here, so thank you. I think it needs to be on. Nope.
How about no? Okay, good morning, Courtney Jackson with the RCD. I have some dates for you on the fuel reduction projects that we're currently working on. As far as the Caldor, next phase, the seedling monitoring is continuing in, the Caldor area, with UCCE. We're continuing to identify the expansion unit in the next phase. We're getting closer with that and we're still accepting ROEs. We're trying to identify properties that would be the best, place for, our funds to be used. And then we have identified the areas where we're working in the cabins project along Highway 50. So we're working with the Forest Service and we expect to be in operation September 1st in those units. September 15th, not 1st. And in the Coloma Lotus Fuel Reduction Project, we have identified those expansion areas. And we are going to be getting the ARC and ecological surveys complete. And we are expecting work to begin there in the fall. The South County Fuel Reduction Projects, we have shaded fuel break operations continuing in Omo Ranch and roadside operations continuing in Omo Ranch. We've also completed the work in the Zandonella area. And we'll continue work in the Oak Hill area in the fall when conditions improve. Additional parcels have been identified to treat the parcels that weren't picked up, and those will be funded by the PG&E grant that was given to the Fire Safety Council. In Spanish Flat, we're continuing work on the BLM land adjacent to Highway 193 north of Spanish Flat Road. It's in the area between 193 and Shoe Fly Road north of Kelsey. Hand crews are finishing work in previously masticated areas. So they use the big equipment and now they're going in and doing secondary treatments and just finishing up and making it look really nice. Roadside fuel reduction work is continuing along Traverse Creek Road by the Garden Valley Fire Department, and they are going to hire a subcontractor to bring in a masticator on some areas that aren't quite as deep. And flagging is almost complete in Traverse, so we should be getting underway with Traverse Creek unit hopefully in the coming weeks. Stevens Authority Volcanoville. So work is going like gangbusters now along the roadside on Volcanoville Road. And the Stevens Authority Mosquito Fuel Reduction EFRT project. Or I'm sorry, not EFRT, the Stevens Authority Fuel Reduction project. Work has been completed there. We're done with that project, submitting all of our reports right now. And in the Stevens Authority Grizzly Flat project, shaded fuel break work has begun there. It's going rather quickly and we should be completed with that project in about a month. The Cedar Springs Stevens Authority project treatment areas have been identified. The RFP has been posted and bids are due tomorrow. A contractor, it will be selected on the July 28th. In the mosquito EFRT recovery program, operations are expected to begin there by August 1st. And Marshall Road Fuel Reduction Project. Work is moving steadily along Marshall Road. Any questions? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Courtney. Lots happening. All right, I don't see Eric Brown from SMUD in the room or online. We do have Mike Webb from PG&E online. Mike, you have the floor.
Well, thank you, Ken. Just a quick report for PG&E. We are fully enabled with our enhanced power line safety settings, which just about impacts every circuit in El Dorado County, since we are almost entirely tier 2 or tier 3 risk for wildfire for the CPUC map. So we've been seeing those frequent small outages and sometimes large outages, unfortunately. Basically the system is responding as appropriate, and it's shutting itself off within 1/10 of a second when it is impacted by something, thus preventing wildfires. So the EPSS is enabled fully and working. So with those outages, I would just remind everybody to look at the outreach information that I gave to Ken on June 1st. Know how to go into the outage center and look up your outage and get more information about it. Set up the alerts on your phone. Those will be helpful not only for these type of outages, but for wildfire incidents, as well as storms in the wintertime. And that was what I wanted to share mostly. If there were any questions or other requests for outreach information, please let me have those, and I'll continue to provide information the best I can. Thank you, guys.
I have a question. I was wondering, out my area, which is Patterson, south of Diamond, there's been a contractor out there replacing individual poles. And I was wondering if that's countywide that's happening, or just specific to my location. What they're doing is they're putting a new pole in right next to the existing pole, and then they top the PG&E portion of the first pole. Are you aware of anything going on, Mike?
That type of work is going on throughout the service territory. The company is working not only on the hardening projects, but just catching up on replacements and maintenance. So it could be any combination of that work, but yeah, it is going on countywide and service territory wide.
Okay, thank you.
We have a question online from Sherry Hawk.
Sherry is
You are mute.
Hi, Mike. I'm probably beating a dead horse here, but I've missed a few meetings. We've had contractors in Gold Ridge Forest. A lot of trees are falling in our green belts with debris left behind. We're not real happy about that after the thousands of dollars through grants that that have been provided to us, plus POA money. I am getting a lot of reports from neighbors that the cleanup is not happening within the 45 days for their personal property where trees are being down by contractors. Yes, we understand that they're leaving, the trees themselves without the debris is supposed to be what's happening, but debris is being left behind. Where can I go? Where can I point our residents to go to file those complaints? Because a lot of times if we're calling PG&E and I've done expedited services and all kinds of things, and so have others, and we're not getting answers or the area is cleaned up.
So there is the 877 phone number. Have you utilized that number? 877-660-6789 for all post work concerns. That is in that email that I provided to the group here in June.
Okay. I'll look for it. I may have lost it. My email has gotten pretty bad.
Yeah,
and
Sherry, I put it out to the full email list. I want to say it was about a week and a half ago.
Okay, fantastic, Ken. Thank you. I've changed my email address, but stuff is still going to the old one. So thank you. I appreciate that.
And Sherry, just remember, and I'll keep saying this, is if this debris is on your private property within your defensible space or within 100 feet of your home, or along or near your primary ingress or egress route to your house, and it would propose a safety issue for you should there be a fire. Those are circumstances and situations where we are required to remove the wood and you have to request a wood management agreement. That gives us the legal authority to remove the wood, which is considered your private property. So without that agreement, they can't remove the wood. And when I say wood, the large timber hunks of wood.
Okay.
So, and if you want, you can please give me a call afterwards if you want to discuss more. 916-759. Here, I'll put it in the chat.
Go ahead. Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
It's 759-2709.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we have one home. It's about 7 houses away from me. Debris has been there for over 2 months. Nobody lives there. I'm trying to find a way to get that cleaned up. Trees were downed. I'm absolutely not even sure it was PG&E, but it happened during the time they were in the neighborhood. So it is a huge fire hazard.
Understand.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Sharon. You guys can definitely connect up offline and we'll make sure that number is out there. Thank you, Mike, as always, for checking in with us and providing the critical information. El Dorado Sheriff's Department, Office of Emergency Services. I don't think we have anyone today. Just double checking. No. And then lastly, Bureau of Reclamation. I don't know if Sorella is in there. There you are.
Oh, cheers.
Right now, we have current positions here. Feel free to check.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and for those, if you want to look online, I've got Mike Webb's phone number and email up in the chat. And again, for those, that's 916-759-2709. Okay, next up, grants and funding, Tamara Johnston.
Let's see. Okay, first thing, I just wanted to comment on, from a grants perspective, on everything that Courtney was talking about. I mean, we're talking about thousands of acres that are finally getting treated. And for those of us who've been involved for a long time, it's just really heartening to see that treatment on the ground happening. Like, I got involved in 2018 because I wanted to get work done, and I'm finally seeing it 7 years later. So don't get discouraged. If you are recently involved, it will happen in your lifetime. So maybe sooner. So we had a good group grants meeting on July 2nd, focused on the CAL FIRE prevention grants. So I just want to thank everyone who took the time to attend. I'll get to that in a little bit in my report, kind of where we're going with that. In terms of our current grants that are out there, the California Fire State Council Outreach and Education Grant. I had a meeting with our grants officer at the California Fire State Council yesterday. He said that the Forest Service, the funding is coming from the Forest Service, and that they have everything they need. They just don't, Forest Service, to process the application and the funding. They just don't have any staff right now. So there's one person in the whole country who's dealing with this stuff. And that's what's taking so long, unfortunately. So there's no reason to think we won't get the funding. I just don't have a time frame even still. They're also requesting an extension of the grant. It was a 2-year grant. So they're asking for an extension. So we'll have a little more time to spend the money when we get it. I'm saying when we get it.
Optimism.
Right. In our CAL FIRE hazardous tree grant, that's a current grant. That was for, I think, $1.2 million, something like that. I can't remember exactly. We're getting close to running out of chipping money, so we requested a grant amendment out of the CAL FIRE hazardous tree grant, so that we're moving around $350,000 from that grant
into chipping to extend our chipping program. And what that will do is also allow us to use our air quality management district grant to match that grant. I think we had $150,000 left. So by moving some money over from CAL FIRE, we're also able to access the AQMD grant. So that gives us a little more, it actually gives us money in our chipping program. We were at danger of having to close it. So that's great. And then we have requested an extension on our Stevens Authority grant, which expired in June. That's for chipping, and that's in the works. But what I hear from Jacoby, that's also the similar issue where things are just super slow with Forest Service processing things because they're very, very understaffed. So we're hopeful we'll get the extension on the chipping, but from the Stevens Authority, but at least for now, the chipping program is well funded by moving that money around. Currently pending, we have the CWDG for the Martinez Creek area. If you recall, that's the $10 million we requested for fuel reduction work, defensible space, all kinds of stuff in the Martinez Creek drainage area. I reached out to our Forest Service, it's also Forest Service contact in California to see if there was an ETA and when we were going to find out if we're getting that grant, and got an auto reply that she's working on fires in Canada, and so I may get a response at some point. I was really hoping that we would know about that before we submit our CAL FIRE prevention grants, and that's what I had asked her, but I don't know if we're going to know about that grant in time for CAL FIRE, unfortunately. Since the last meeting, we've submitted a few grants, grant proposals. One was for the California Fire Foundation. We requested the maximum, which is $25,000. $15,000 of that would be for stipends for the assessment. The whole proposal is for the assessment program. So we get money to do stipends for 300 more assessments, and then also pay for all of the training costs, training materials, the assessor bags, and then web design for putting all of those materials up on our website so that they're always accessible and we don't need to carry our binders around. We also requested money from Pioneer Community Energy, also for the assessor training program. That was a $10,500 request. So we'll see about those. And then some grants that are coming up. One is I just wanted to mention the Sierra Nevada Conservancy. I can't remember if I talked about this last time, but they put out a 10 million, they have $10 million for fuel reduction work that is on a first come, first served basis. And I think you have to apply before January. So we were really excited. It's for fuel reduction work in the WUI. Very excited to apply for that. And as I read through the guidelines more carefully, realized that they had embedded in the grant guidelines what I'm calling a poison pill, which is basically that in order to get a grant for fuel reduction work on private property, actually I think it's on any property, but it's a poison pill for private property, is that the grantee and or the landowner have to agree to allow access to their property for 25 years. So inspection access for 25 years, and that they have to maintain the work for 25 years. And if they don't, they have to give the money back. So it's just not, I mean, for all of us who do work with homeowners, like that's just not a tenable thing to ask people to do, right? So it's really unfortunate. And so I do have a meeting with Sierra Nevada Conservancy next week, and I'm going with another person on a couple different things, but I am going to bring that up with them because it's what it means is that we can't actually apply for any of that money for our fuel reduction work. I do know that RCD is applying for funding for Sierra Nevada Conservancy that will be on federal lands, and I think the U.S. Forest Service is as well. So there still will hopefully be some money going to projects that will benefit us on Forest Service land, so kind of next to the WUI, or sort of next to where we are doing our projects. So hopefully there will still be some money coming in to benefit us, but we won't be, at this point, we'll be applying as Fire Safe Council.
I've read this up a few times before, but the BLM grant opportunity has been reopened. So we will be applying for, they've increased the amount we can apply for. So we'll be applying for 1.5 million to do NEPA work on BLM lands, mostly on the divide, but probably some in South County as well. I'm working with Mark Egbert to figure out, and our BLM contact to figure out where we would be doing that NEPA work. But what's cool about that is that once we have the NEPA done, then anytime BLM project lands are included in our other projects, we won't have the delay, the NEPA delay, which can be significant in these projects. So we'll be able to get that kind of out of the way, and that will help us get our other projects done faster. Let's see, we've got coming up, there's the National Forest Foundation. It's due August 1st. It's a $75,000 grant, maximum grant, and the funding is for collaborations. So we will be applying for funding to support the project coordination working group, which what that group is doing fits perfectly into the guidelines. It's actually a really competitive application, but I think we have a good chance of getting it just because we fit so perfectly into what they're looking for. And what that money would do is, we haven't totally figured it out yet, but would help fund projects or, staff support for that project coordination working group. So, and GIS support. So we're hoping that will help kind of mitigate some of the county funding cuts in the GIS program and maybe in the other staffing, so that when they go back and do cuts again, they can't cut where we have a grant. So that's kind of the idea there. Okay, so CAL fire prevention grants. Those are due on August 6th. The El Dorado County Fire Safe Council as a whole entity will be applying for a grant. First of all, the maximum grant is $950,000. They are a lot smaller this year. In the past, we've gotten maybe 6 million across the whole unit. I don't know if that's going to remain the same, but the whole unit is Amador County, El Dorado County, and I think maybe, is it Alpine County too? I'm not sure. Anyway, it's much larger than just El Dorado County. So I think maybe we've gotten 3 million in the past in El Dorado. So we will be submitting a $950,000 grant for chipping and another $950,000 for defensible space. I don't know that we'll get both of them, probably not. But those programs are extremely popular and we run out of money, so we do need to fund those. And then we discussed in our grants committee and at the e-board level, coming together and applying for a single fuel reduction focused grant in each of the planning areas. Ideally in places that maybe are adjacent to where work is being done, definitely areas where it's been identified as high priority in the CAL FIRE unit plan that's the map on the Walker mapping tool. And with a focus if at all possible on one way in, one way out communities. So I know South County has gotten together to look at areas that make sense for South County to do it. And then also what we're trying to do is not put the projects in the same areas where other people are putting work. So I mentioned earlier that RCD and the Forest Service are applying for Sierra Nevada Conservancy funding for the Forest Service areas. So identifying where they're applying for funding and then not including those in our grants. And that's kind of the whole point of the project coordination working group. We had a meeting yesterday and really kind of started to lay out where everybody's applying for funding, and so that we're not duplicating kind of our efforts and competing with each other for the same, applying for the same area in different grants. It doesn't make any sense. So really trying to lay out kind of where the project should be in each planning area and then connect it with what other people are applying for. So where it's still in a, planning or sort of, I guess, figuring out phase of where each planning area is going to be. Where each each fuel reduction project will be in each planning area. So I know South County's been very involved in that. I've talked to Bob Hess and a few other people in North County to figure out where we should be putting those projects. We're looking at in the east planning area. There's a lot of work already going on with CAL FIRE, RCD, and the Forest Service. So kind of looking at areas between the work already happening that would tie everything in together. So kind of along Starks Grade and the Fort Jim area. There's a lot of stuff going on in Texas Hill already too. And then in the west, it's looking like rescue seems to be the area with the most kind of readiness for applying. Meeting with Mark tomorrow, we're trying to connect with the Rescue Fire Safe Council head to make sense of, if that makes sense to apply there. We're not the only ones applying for CAL FIRE fire prevention. So far, what I've heard is EID is applying. Unfortunately, we don't know where they're putting their application, where their project map is. We're trying to get that information. And then also Sierra Pacific Industries is applying along with another partner. I can't remember the name of that partner, nonprofit partner, to do work along Wentworth Springs Road. I think they've applied twice before and haven't gotten it. So I don't know if they'll be successful this time. So there's just a lot more out there applying than there's going to be funding. It's going to be extremely competitive. And then I wanted to mention, I can be the contact for reaching out to Patrick with the concept papers. So just so he's not getting inundated with lots of different people, but we can coordinate that on how to do that if you're the lead for your planning area. So that was a lot. And I'm sorry, I have one more thing. Some of you may have gotten this. The California Fire Safe Council has another grant opportunity that's due August 31st. So that was part of the conversation I had with our grants person at California Fire Safe Council. Is it even worth applying? Because we've had trouble getting actually paid in the last 2 grants we've gotten from him. And he said, yes, that's a consideration for you, of course. He also said is that you're probably not going to be that competitive because you've gotten grants the last 2 cycles. Yeah.
Technically. Technically, we've got grants.
Technically, we've got grants. They get the first $500,000 grant. Killed ourselves trying to finish it by the deadline. But yeah, so this round, there's only $750,000 for the whole state. He really kind of discouraged us from applying for it. He just didn't think we would be competitive. And frankly, our experience with them the last 2 grants has been a total pain. So unless somebody has a different opinion, we're thinking of just sending that one out. So yeah, so any questions, comments? I think there's probably a lot. Yeah, that's it.
Hello. Oh, just one quick question on doing the NEPA for the BLM plans. How long is that good for then? Like, does that start a clock ticking, or is that kind of good indefinitely?
I think it's indefinite. The things that have clocks ticking are things like bird surveys and that sort of thing. So even when you have NEPA done, and I'm not an expert on this, if Mark were in the room, he could probably speak to it more, but even if you have NEPA done, there's always like the time sensitive surveys that still have to be done when you have projects, but at least you have like the paperwork done. Yeah, and as far as I understand, I think it's permanent once it's done. Jacoby, do you?
Now, you said that we have birds, frogs, I guess certain species of plants. Those we can realize they need to still do.
No birds, no frogs.
I have a question, and maybe this is better done at the very end. I'm not sure on the public comments, but what I'm hearing, there's so much focus, and it's good on fuel reduction from CAL FIRE, from RCD, from almost all the grants, but not all of them. Thank you for doing the assessment one. Are there any opportunities out there for money for like innovative education, for trying to motivate, because it's the houses themselves that we really care about not burning, especially. And trying to motivate people, and some other places are doing really innovative stuff. Have we looked at all of that or tried to find money for that, or Yeah.
Well, so
thought
I
Open
do,
Records.
the assessment program, so we did apply for 2 grants for the assessment program, which I think fits into that, right? Motivating people to do their own defensible space and empowering them with knowledge on how to do it. So there is a focus there. So back to the California Fire Safe Council grant, we're not applying for it, but Garden Valley Fire is planning to apply for it. And one of the things they're doing that I think is innovative is offering as an incentive for people to become firewise. They'll go and do work in their neighborhood, so maybe along their road or things like that. So they're applying for a grant to do, that kind of incentive program for firewise communities. But I would be super open to having that conversation with you, Alice, on, maybe there's other things that we should be asking money for sure. Yeah.
Other questions? Definitely a lot of moving parts to what Tamara's working on, and with all the partners, whether it's OWAP or CAL FIRE, the Forest Service, RCD, BLM, a lot happening. So if you have more detailed questions or you want to know, definitely grab Tamara offline or others, because obviously we're at that critical phase with the fire prevention grant application window.
And I'm sorry, one thing I just wanted to mention too, is we discussed kind of all these project areas yesterday at the project coordination working group and got, kind of input and feedback from the fire personnel. So, they're all kind of in agreement, kind of where we're looking at the projects make sense. So, just want to mention that too. The project coordination working group is actually really helpful. We've only had our 2nd meeting, but it was amazing to just be able to lay that out and get the feedback from the fire people. And so I'm just very thankful that we finally have this kind of forum for exchanging information in a really efficient way. So.
With the grant proposals, do we have either GIS and or kind of data expertise anyways to help with pulling that together because of the short time frame?
Yeah, I believe the county will still help us on these proposals, but we just need to be really tight in our request. So that's what we're kind of trying to tighten it up before we go to them and say, hey, we need these maps. Yeah.
So who's taking the lead then on that?
I can take the lead on that. I'm also meeting with Mark Egbert tomorrow to draw the maps too, so that we can, kind of circulate and get buy-in on those, and then we can use that to go to the GIS and get, if we need it. I'm not sure if I'm going to need it because it's the mapper tool, but if we need it, we have it.
Cool. Thanks, Tamara. Good question, Lester. All right, program reports. Moving on, assistance programs. Jessica.
Good morning, everybody. I am going to read the 2025 year-to-date report. Just open for me. Goodness. Okay, it's not opening.
So how about if you just, we'll move on to the training report. We'll get
Yeah,
back to you.
we'll come back
Okay.
to me. Now back.
Thank you. Okay, next up, Elizabeth, we'll put you on the spot for the training committee.
Okay, our big news last night, the assessor training, held a 2-hour Zoom. Of course, mainly for the new assessors that were trained this year. They've been out in the field for a little bit. We wanted to reconnect with them and give them a forum that asks specific questions, general questions, kind of give us feedback and see how they're feeling, how they're doing out there. So we had a lot of great questions. And I really wanted to thank the team, Ron Phillips, Jeff Hogue, Richie, and Jacob Yansky, that, they give so much of their time to our program that's above and beyond their call of duty, in addition to those of us that are just volunteers doing this. And having them at the table when we're getting specific nitty-gritty into the weeds questions, is just wonderful to have their expertise there and to keep us all going in the right direction and on the straight and narrow and make sure we can get consistent information out to the public and not get everybody confused. So it was well attended. I thought we recorded it. For those that weren't able to attend, a lot of people are on vacation. We will email the recording out to everybody so you can watch the 2-hour fest at your leisure. Going forward, we're kind of waiting for the Zone 0 regs to get finalized. We're hoping that will happen. And if and when it does, we will have a specific training for assessors on the new Zone 0 regs, but we're anticipating that in the fall. So everybody continue to be safe this summer, get out there, do more assessments. I will be sitting down with Carrie here soon to make sure that our assessment reporting process is running smoothly. And make sure we're capturing all this good work that's going on out there, because I know she's getting a lot of requests coming into the office and getting them out to folks. So we need to make sure that it's getting reported back on that. Any questions?
Yes, and ditto on the thank you to you, Elizabeth, and the team for all that work. It's amazing. Dorothy, education outreach.
Okay, education and outreach. We started out, we were just down at Cameron Park. The El Dorado County Fire Safe Council collaborated with the Greater Cameron Park Fire Safe Council. And so we were represented down at the Cameron Park Lake Summer Spectacular, which was an awesome event. For those of you that have never been, they had some great fireworks. Theirs were not blown up like the county's fire safe. They went off early. It was a great event. Anyway, also, we are compiling a list, the county are compiling a list of Fire Safe Council events. I've emailed and received information on the bigger events from most Fire Safe Councils, but there's still 13 councils I haven't heard from. So I will be re-asking for their information. The goal here or objective is to take our events, coordinate with OWOPR's list of county events, understanding that right now, as we've grown, there's only, especially when we want other agency representatives at our events, there's only so many representatives from each agency that can make all of our meetings, events going on throughout the county. So we're looking to see what we can do to help coordinate and maximize on information and not burn out the agency representatives that we're so thankful to have come to these events of ours, but to maximize on that. So that is where we're going with that. There is a working group. And so we're also looking at events, activities and materials, and we'll be sending out a survey to all of you to ask for, where you see maybe some ideas, materials, except for just pulling it together in a bigger collective informational poll. So any questions regarding, and we have no current events coming up at this moment that I know of. Any questions? Thank you. End of report.
All right, thank you, Dorothy. Jessica, are you in a
Yeah.
position? All right, we'll go back to assistance program, brief update.
All right, we're gonna try this again. The 2025 year-to-date report. For our chipping program, we have successfully completed 449 parcels. We've cleared 811 acres. We have chipped 71,761 cubic yards. And we have spent $210,510.42. For defensible space, we have evaluated 348 new parcels. We have cleared 284. The average cost per parcel is $1,244.24. We have spent $396,104.76. Out of the 284 parcels cleared, 64 of them were veterans, 257 of them were seniors, 66 of them were low income, and 74 of them were disabled. For hazardous tree, we have assessed 116 new parcels. We have completed 101. We have identified 355 new trees. We have cut 350 trees. The average cost per tree is $604.36. And we have spent $142,386.75. Any questions?
Awesome.
Okay, great.
Do you have a question? Yeah, I'll try.
I love these reports. This is the real payoff. What we're doing. Like, it's really hard to write all that down every month by hand as you read them off quickly. I have them on the computer. Can we get a sheet, our budget sheet?
So Dorothy and I were actually speaking on ways to share the data on our webpage, and we are currently working on that, so that way everybody can access the information.
Okay.
The other piece with that is if Ken sends out, as now he is going to be sending out the agenda along with the full board packet, that information is also provided in there, but I will get you a copy directly, Chuck. So
It's also in our minutes.
Yes.
It's in our minutes.
It's in the minutes for the previous month.
Yeah.
Right, so
But
we're-
But you can track it if you go back, yes.
Yeah, Carrie documents
that's the
it.
way I do it.
But you can have a little sheet that went on one more.
Yeah, I do create a report, and if that is something.
Happy to
Ken
share it.
wants add,
Happy to
we can share.
Have it.
Any more questions?
Excellent. All right.
I did want to just say a quick note about community events. They are still available for associate councils. If you want to do a chipping community event for your area, you can collaborate that with me, where we will reserve a chipper specifically for your community for whatever week you want to do that. I recommend putting the information out a month ahead of time to your community, and we will reserve a chipper to come out and serve your area that week. I know they used to be a lot more popular. People haven't been utilizing them as often anymore, but they are still available.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Okay, next up, item 10, community council reports, just round robin of what's happening in your fire safe council areas.
David's here.
Okay, well, I got this on first and then we'll do David. How about that?
Hi, Hassan from Sierra Springs. Just a quick update. Out of the 212 evaluations we conducted in Sierra Springs, we're getting to get feedback from people who've been notified that they need to get some work done. And so we have been also going back out and reevaluating. Most of them are things like needles on their roofs or weeds. That includes both parcels with structures on them and vacant lots. And we're getting responses from both residents and landowners from out of the area. And then I want to reemphasize our thankfulness to RCD. Courtney and Mark have been very inclusive. We've gone to a couple of meetings and we're going to go to another one next week concerning all the work they're going to be doing in and around Sierra Springs. It has been very informative, very fast moving, and very helpful. So thanks again.
Thanks.
Okay, David, and then we'll do Sherry online afterward.
Coastal Fire Safe Council will be participating in the National Night Out August 5th, and probably soon a few others are doing it too. Also, I want to give a shout out to Jessica and everything. One of my neighbors came over in the Lumsden Park area and just raved over how wonderful the festival space was. So we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I'm Sherry online first, then we'll come to you, Chris.
I am so happy to report that I saw a sign down my road that the county was going to be doing work on our roadsides. They started this week, and apparently they are doing quite a few of our roads, including Gold Ridge Trail, which is just amazing. We've been trying to figure out how to pull funds together to do this because the roadsides have not been cleared in over 7 years. So that is just super awesome, great news. And the community here is really happy to see that happening. We'll be having our green waste dumpster day on September 20th. I'll be getting everything together for that, for the Title III funds to submit in time. This year, we're going to send out postcards and hoping that we'll get more participants. And then we're also, some of the work that USDA, NRCS had completed for us. We're doing the maintenance on that this year and trying to take care of some of our steeper areas where the large equipment won't get into. So, although we're very low staffed and no volunteers here to speak of in our little community, we're still trying to move forward in some aspects. So thankfully we have the POA to work with. That's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. It's like next up, Chris Payne.
Patterson Ranch Fire Safe Council. I want to thank Angel for helping me get a meeting at the Lake Oaks Mobile Home Park, which is right at the end of Patterson, Highway 49 between Diamond Springs and El Dorado. I didn't realize statistically there's 300 residents. These are all modular type, where the underlying property owner is Patterson Ranch family, but the individual mobile homes or modular homes are owned by the individual. So we had close to 60 in the clubhouse, which fills the clubhouse up, as I found out. We had Scott Bear from OES, who was there to talk about RAVE and perimeter programs.
Sorry.
And so. Okay.
Keep going.
Yeah, I didn't want to have a feedback. The excitement is that this area, it needs attention. And certainly I had a chance to go around and kind of look at what their issues are. This is no different than other areas where you have a mobile home park or a modular type of arrangement. Wood board fences between the lots, just a ton of fuel, and this 10 feet or so from the residence. It almost puts you into the next residence. So there's very little room there. It could be tragic. It exists, and our focus now, my focus is going to be more attentive to where you have high density and a chance for a catastrophic issue, as we saw down in Los Angeles. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, other Bill.
Is this working? Not working.
Yep, we can hear.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Bill Osgood, Toronto Fire Safe Council. First thing. We work with Tanya on getting our Firewise application in. We were accepted. So we're going to have excited to have a big announcement in the month with the Toronto HOA board and the Toronto Fire Safe Council jointly announcing this to 4,700 residents. So, and I haven't met Chief Toasty, but he put up with me on a number of iterations. So that's worked out really well. Second is we're starting to do our assessments. I think it's a fantastic program. I love getting out in the community and meeting my neighbors. There's a lot of interest in among a lot of us to keep our houses fire safe. The big issues in Toronto, remember this is a master planned community run by an HOA. A lot of high density housing, 4,600 homes. So our issues are fence, eaves, wood fences, and a lot of vegetation and combustible material and bark all around houses everywhere. So we have a lot of work to do. I really appreciate the clarification on the zone zero or the application of the county ordinance to the LRA, which 2/3 of Serrano is in the LRA. Still high risk, but it's in the LRA. So that makes a big difference. I hope that's legal. It hangs in there, but that's my report.
How many Firewise communities, Bill? Three? Did you make 3 new ones?
Yeah, we've got 4,700 homes, so we had to break it into 3 communities.
3.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Courtney.
Wanted to mention, Courtney with the Fort Jim Fire Safe Council, we're having a green waste disposal event on the 26th and 27th. That's at the west end of Fort Jim Road and Newtown Road. So it's a dumpster. It will be available until it's at capacity. So if you have any friends, please let them know. And the Fort Jim Fire Safe Council actually expands beyond Fort Jim Road. It goes to the Camino Fire Safe Council, Texas Hill Fire Safe Council, and Foxborough Fire Safe Council, as well as going all the way down Newtown to Starks Grade. Also, our next quarterly public meeting is on August 7th, and our speaker will be Lloyd Ogan of the El Dorado County Fire Protection District. He's a board member. Former El Dorado County Fire Chief, and he'll be discussing wildfire response and evacuation. He'll also touch on the insurance crisis. He stays pretty up to date with that and what we should expect next. So again, that's on August 7th, 5:30 to 7:30 at the Davies Family Inn. It's public, so everyone is welcome.
Thank you, Courtney. Karen. Yes.
Karen Pullen from Mosquito Fire Safe Council. First and foremost, I want to put out a huge thank you to the U.S. Forest Service, Stevenson Grant Authority for the grant to do our mosquito roadside reduction clearing. They just completed it. The work was just completed. It was huge because it's a one-way in and out area with no fire hydrant. And it's just an incredible risk to our mosquito swarm community if a fire were to break out. And now it's like a really nice fire break. And we also want to recognize and thank RCD for their superb management of this grant, and Courtney for keeping us advised all the time of what was going on, and Alex for coming and speaking at our meeting. And lastly, to our El Dorado County Fire Safe Council Board for making these opportunities available to us to get these grants, because without your support and help and assistance, it wouldn't be. So thank you for that. And then the barbecue last month, I wanted to make sure that we gave a shout out to the barbecue skills of our CAL FIRE. They did a great job, and they put up with my husband's nonstop talk out there. And also to El Dorado County Fire Safe Council again for providing the food. It was really a special, I think it turned out really well. And a special thank you to Janet Mills from Texas Hill Fire Safe Council for all her help and assistance with that. I couldn't have done it without her. So thank you, Janet, wherever you are. That's it. Thank you, Mosquito Fire.
Thanks, Karen. Bob, Bess.
Hi there, Bob Hess, Paloma Lotus. Well, last month I told you that we got our third Firewise community approved. This month I can tell you that a week and a half ago, we got our fourth. And got an interesting call from Captain Tusty, and he asked me if I have any interest in combining them all into one giant fireworks scheme. Since we really wouldn't, we come very close to the 2,500 limit, but not quite. And I said, that's an interesting question. We sleep on it, so I called Richard Galvin, kicked it around with him, and the more I thought about it, we really have become decentralized intentionally in Coloma Lotus, where each neighborhood, has their own representative on the board. And so I called Captain back and I said, I think we're going to keep it the way it is. And as an example, we're working right now with Courtney on some of these expansion areas on our original CAL FIRE grant. So we're leveraging all of these Firewise teams in these different parts of our fire safe council to go out and get ROE. And this is really paying off at a bunch of last met. And we only met last Tuesday. So we're going to keep it the way it is. And we got our 5th in the risk assessment mode right now, and that's the Gold Hill area. And by the way, one reason we didn't include all these areas in the beginning is they weren't in our fire safe council. And so some of these areas have requested to be annexed, and we accepted them. The latest was the Gold Hill community that is not part of the Gold Hill Estates Fire Safe Council. So as a result of the current risk assessment process we're doing, I've been contacted by a couple of folks in the Gold Hill Estates Fire Safe Council asking if they can be included in this Firewise community for Gold Hill that we're forming. And it's not too late. We're going to modify the risk assessment, and if that's what they want, then we'll include that area in this Firewise community, even though it's not part of the fire safe. So that's it. Just one other thing I'll point out is Tamara pointed out a big pink area that Jeff pointed out here a little bit ago in our fire safe council for possible grant work. I got to thank Tamara about that. I wasn't even aware of this big pink blob on the map. So we're going to look into that. Hopefully, maybe do something about it. That's it.
Thanks, Bob. Janine.
Dave Hiles from Greenstone. We're going to have our Green Waste Days again in August. And I don't know how many of you received an email from a student named Sarah Thomas. I sent the information to Ken. Anyway, she is doing her master's dissertation in WUI, what she is. So I thought it was kind of interesting. I went through it and I sent it to Ken and said, I don't know if anybody else got this, but I responded to her. She was very, very professional in her request for this information. So I sent it, and if anybody else would like to participate and help her out in her dissertation, that would be really great. Thanks.
Thanks, Janine. I did forward that out, so thank you. Michael.
Mike Conley with Incredible Fire Safety.
We need to turn your mic on, Mike.
Top side.
On the top there, or wherever it ended up.
I'm Mike Connolly with the Auburn Lake Trails Fire Safe Council. We're having a Green Waste Dumpster Day on Saturday. And we had a kickoff meeting for our 350 acre shaded fuel break with the CAL FIRE grant on Monday with the RCD, and they're managing the project for us. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Others? I'll make sure I always miss folks up here. Looking online. Okay, any other councils? All right. So next up, any public comments, things that weren't covered under council reports? Chris.
I'm involved with the Taxpayers Association of El Dorado County. We have a
a weekly breakfast at Denny's at 7:30 on Mondays. Our speaker was Shiva Frenzen, former supervisor, county supervisor, but she's the executive director of what we call LAFCO, which is the Local Agency Formation Commission. She reported about what, it's interesting, she and her assistant are the only two staff administratively, and they handle a lot of work where there's special districts involved. I think there's like over 50, and she's involved with the Kawan Park and the El Dorado Hills Community Service Districts. Essentially, she knows the county, and why it's important is because she also deals with fire districts. And so she gave a report as to the status of the consolidation of Diamond Springs El Dorado Fire Protection District into El Dorado County Fire. Technically, they are operating, but they still have to go through the administrative process, which from my perspective is a done deal. It takes a while though, time-wise. But she did also talk about the potential consolidation of other smaller fire districts in terms of the future of El Dorado County. And I thought that was very interesting. As we know, there's a political past history on some of this. It's happened before where they tried to consolidate. But my report has to do with just the fact that this is business not on the agenda, and I thought it was important. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments for good of the order? Okay, as we wrap up, so we will start the brown bag session right at 12:30, but we're going to do it time certain because we told everybody we've got the Zoom. So I want to make sure folks log back in. It's the same, again, Zoom address for this meeting. We will log out of it and then come back at 12:30. Our next meeting is August 20th, right here. So with that, adjourns the July meeting of the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council. Thank you.